this was getting enough views to like pay for my Starbucks every day. And I was like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
I've like made it, son. Like Starbucks every day. And then eventually it's like, oh, now it pays like my phone bill. And then it's like, oh, wow, now this is like my #1 driver of income. So it wasn't like a one-time like, I'm going to call my mom and tell her I'm going to do it. I'm a YouTuber now. It was just over time. It just slowly but surely became the #1 thing. And then all the peripheral stuff that I had always been doing just kind of like went to the background, and now this is it.
You gotta just press record.
So what all does it take to become a full-time YouTuber if you're a musician, maybe a singer or an artist? Well, I'm excited to get into this conversation with somebody I just met at a Super Bowl party. That can be kind of sketch.
It can be.
It can
You know,
be.
I feel the vibe was on.
Yeah.
Was on point.
No, for sure.
Instantly.
This is Sean Daniel, who has a YouTube channel right now at the time of this recording, has about 450,000 subscribers. He's been full-time on YouTube for about 4 or so years, but only been doing YouTube for 5 years. So
Yeah.
we're gonna be talking about his journey on how he kind of made that jump and how you even get there, because there's so many creatives and artists that wonder how YouTube can actually be a source of resource for them to be able to pursue things. But I'm excited, and thank you for coming in early in the morning to the video department.
Had to do it. What was funny was yesterday when we met, I'm like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a YouTuber.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I got like 500,000 followers when it's really 450,000. Just
But
because
we always round up.
I'm flexing it at a Super Bowl party, right? And then he's like, I'm a YouTuber too. And I'm like, oh, dang.
That's not, you don't, that doesn't happen every day when you meet somebody. It's
It is funny, yeah.
It always like catches my attention, obviously, because I'm like, it's a small, it's like to be considered as that. I know what all that entails.
Yes,
I know like
exactly.
the grind it probably entails, but also the freedom of lifestyle that could potentially entail and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, can you share a little bit about your journey and what your channel is?
Yeah, absolutely. So my channel is all music based in some way or another. Mostly it's known for guitar stuff, but there's, all sorts of music. There's performances, there's teaching. I feel like the teaching videos are kind of like the bread and butter of the channel, what gets the most views. Gear demos, I do a QA, sometimes I'll do live streams, just really whatever, just grinding content out there, anything music related. Try to do it in a charismatic, fun, easygoing way.
Cool.
And that's pretty much it.
I get you as a fun, charismatic, easygoing guy.
I try.
Yeah,
what I mean? That's the mask I put on all the time.
What was kind of like your journey, before you even started making a video, and then how did you get to that place of like, I'm gonna make a video and post it on YouTube?
You know what's funny? It's like so many creators have the same story. It happened by accident, right? Didn't start out to be a YouTuber or anything like that. I was just, a musician making the grind. I was teaching a lot. I was performing, and this is in Sarasota, Florida, so not really like a hotbed of like musical activity. Even though there's a lot of talent around there, like not a lot of people like, make it and like make it big or anything like that. So I had just released an album with a friend of mine that I thought was really good, that I thought was eligible for success, right? I've always been pretty much of a realist, like I have realistic expectations for things. And it's like, all right, well, this is pretty good. And we kind of toured it locally and it didn't really do much. And I was like, I think it's just I don't have an audience. So I just made a YouTube video that was a music theory related video that was really just meant to tell my students, like, because I was teaching maybe like 20 students a week at the time. I was like, all right, I just want to use YouTube as a hosting platform essentially for this video to blast it out to my students. And then slowly over time, it just like got views, and I was like, maybe this is a thing.
That's cool.
And I never even really used YouTube other than like how to change a tire type stuff back then, And then I was like, all right, well, maybe this is it. So I'm going to do a video a week, see what happens. And then one day, someone posted the videos on Reddit, made it to the top page. And then like overnight, I had like 2,000 subscribers.
That's incredible.
And ever since that day, I was like, this is it. Like I could see it for the first time. And then it was like almost like a video every day since then.
Dang, that's amazing. So yeah, I kind of want to talk about just that idea of like, off camera, we were talking about how it wasn't like one day I decided to go full time. So like, what did that season like? So like a year into posting that first video, a year from that point, you then made a conscious, decision on like, this is what I will do.
100%. It's funny. There were milestones along the way, right? Like I thought that first video was like, it was good. It was representative of what I wanted. Looking back on it, it's cringy because I feel like on camera, I was like,
we always say,
hi guys, my name is Sean. This is a note on a guitar. And then now it's just like, this is like what I do in my sleep almost.
Yeah.
But the milestones along the way were like, okay, AdSense is a thing. This was getting enough views to like pay for my Starbucks every day. And I was like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
I've like made it, son. Like Starbucks every day.
Take that, Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, right. Come on, man. And then eventually it's like, oh, now it pays like my phone bill. And then it's like, oh wow, now this is like my number one driver of income. So
Wow.
it wasn't like a one time like, I'm gonna call my mom and tell her I'm gonna do it. I'm a YouTuber now. It was just over time. It just slowly but surely became the number one thing. And then all the peripheral stuff that I had always been doing just kind of like went to the background, and now this is it.
That's amazing. And so I see that you are more or less you lean into the education side.
Sure.
And I
yeah.
think that's a principle to lean into as far as musicians, creatives, and artists and singers. Like, you lean into the equipment you have, the how to use the equipment or the instruments you have, and how that. And I look at like some of your most popular videos are search-based videos.
Yes.
And then those are meeting people every day. And you have, it's kind of like the Think Media story. Like, now we have an archive of a library that can serve somebody, and they can go deep. Yeah.
It's 100% like the Think Media thing. I think there's a lot of synergy between our channels actually, because it started out as one thing, and then just so almost as advice to any other content creator out there, or even before, if you're thinking about becoming a content creator, you know so much more than you think you know.
So good.
Right? Like just the process of becoming like a professional musician. It's like, I've learned so much along the way that other people would value from benefiting, and I can only teach it the way that I learned it. And there are so many more people than you would think that have taken that same path.
Yeah.
Like, that's the number one thing about being a YouTuber, and like seeing like just like the macro analytics of like the earth and how many people are out there
No, 100.
and how many people share your same story. So even though like Think Media, maybe you start just trying to like help people understand like analytics or, kind of growing a channel. But then also it's like, hey, well, through the process of making these videos, we know everything about cameras, microphones, lighting, everything. Like, why not use this as just a platform to like help people?
Yeah.
Kind of do
And I
stuff.
would say that's a counter cultural or even counterintuitive way of thinking of yourself as an artist, because you're like, most people are going on YouTube to say, see me, I want to show my gifts, my talents, my abilities. But you took an approach of like a service, like,
Sure.
There's something I know that people don't, and I'm going to start there. And I think that's just something that is a very encouraging moment, because like, if you are a singer, you're probably trying to figure out how to get as many eyes on you to hear you, but what are some things that you can do to actually serve people?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's just like, that's what keeps you going, because as you know, like, it's a grind.
Yes.
If you're going to be a professional content creator, you got to just keep it going.
Right.
And like, there's not an artist out there in the world that can come up with like an original artistic idea 5 times a week.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I think there is almost like an ancillary reward system. Like, when people just I read all my comments, and it's funny. Like, on the internet, comments are such a cesspool some of the times, which I actually love. I love the salty comments too. That's a big part of my channel, is just like shining light, and because I just like having fun with myself, self-deprecating humor. But like, there are so many comments that are just like, man, thank you so much for helping me with this. It's like really changed how I see it. And that could be on a video that totally tanked algorithmically, did terribly. But like, that one guy who just like reaches out, it's like, well, this was still a success. Right? Like, maybe financially was not, but like, I just feel so much better. It's better for my mental health. Yeah. And like, okay, like, this wasn't a failed video. Like, this still helped people.
Yeah. And I love that. Make that connection that like one viewer, one comment, that's a person on the other side of that. Yeah, no, huge. Yeah. So a little bit kind of going deeper into like the monetization standpoint of things. So like, it gets to a point where like your bills are getting paid, which is awesome. Right. I would like to know, because you would say now AdSense isn't the biggest amount of income. It's now sponsorships, brand deals, and things like that.
Yes.
How did that kind of like, you're a one-man band, you're crushing everything you got to do for your channel, because this is a grind.
Yes.
But how did you develop those relationships? How did you find those people? Did you reach out to those brands? Did they reach out to you? Can you kind of share through that kind of process?
Yep. The trade shows were a big one. They're a big part of it.
Dude, we have such a similar... Like, literally, CES and NAB, which are things that are in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
We would go there, meet companies, and then email chains begin.
Well, here's the thing. When you're a good-looking guy, you just got to get your boots on the ground and just show up. You got to lean into your strengths.
So conventions, I mean, what's the one in, like, Anaheim?
NAMM.
NAMM, so, like, all those. Okay, so you're going to these conventions.
Yep, always
shaking
going
hands.
to the conventions. And, I like you said, when we met at that Super Bowl party, it's like, oh, you're a YouTuber. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, that's where you meet those other people. That's where you're for sure going to meet them, because, they're kind of all doing the same grind. And then, you just start talking, and it's like, oh, I've been working with them, this brand or whatever. And the brands are also there.
Yep.
So, yeah, you just start talking. And just over the years, you meet so many people. And I think this specific niche of work just lends itself to people like almost just hugging it out. Like, man, you're going through it too. What I found is it's not a competitive thing with other channels, even in the same exact thing. And I just made a lot of relationships that way.
Dude, I think that's so good. And that's in many cases that could just be a seasonal thing. You do that for a couple of years, you develop those relationships. And so talking through about like some of the types of deals that you're doing, can you talk through like how some are like more, longer partnerships, and then how some are like one-offs?
For sure. The number one thing that allowed me to go from just relying on AdSense, which is a slippery slope,
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
sure.
from month to month, is finally working with companies on a monthly basis, right? Like Sweetwater and Elixir are like my two biggest sponsors, DistroKid, and it's like I know every month I have like a certain amount of videos, and those are 100% from personal relationships. Like there's a lot of email cold calling and stuff out there, and that's like a whole hustle in and of itself. I would say that everything starts as maybe like a one-off, and you do a good job. And the one thing that you have to keep in mind is like that I think a lot of maybe content creators don't really grasp 100% is like when a brand hits you up. Like it's not just like a money grab. It's like I want to make something that we're both happy with.
Dude, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I could just make like a pedal demo or whatever, which is big in the guitar space, But it's like I don't want to make it just like I don't want to be the same pedal demo everybody's making and then okay, well cool, hit me up next year when there's a new pedal out.
Yeah.
I want it to be something like, hey, what are you guys looking for? This is maybe something I could provide. And then like both parties are happy. Maybe I don't even get paid for the first one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just doing it to like
So.
get my foot in the door for a potential relationship of like something we're both interested in. And through that, I feel like I became really close to Sweetwater and Elixir and DistroKid. And that was really just from like just having genuine personal relationships with the people running the brands. Maybe not even just one person, like a whole team. And then like you're part of the team. So it's a partnership more than it is a brand deal.
I love it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, as you're talking, it's like relational.
Yes.
There's a person on the other side of that brand deal that you're actually getting to know. And even more so, I love that even the idea, because I tap into that too. Like there's videos I make that don't align with a actual brand deal, but I'm referencing it because it makes sense. I love this program, software, equipment, whatever. And so that's like a beautiful imagery as far as like what you're trying to do to get your channel monetized is really trying to develop those relationships, which could start at conventions, then can start things that go from that point, which is really cool. What would you say that like you making videos that they had something to look to was very important?
Oh, of course. Like you have to have a back catalog and you have to have a video resume, essentially, right?
Video resume.
And that's why I'm not precious at all with like anything. Like, hey, I'm so fungible on whatever you guys want. Just making something out of passion first, and then I think the potential brand partnerships see that kind of passion. It's like, oh, this is great energy, and that's just it. That's the same thing with personal relationships, everything. Like, if you bring great energy to anything in life, people are going to want to be a part of that and kind of like add their energy to it.
I love that.
And it's the same in business as it is with personal relationships and all that.
Who would you say like some of your peers or people that would be good to follow and kind of see their outline? Because like, I mean, people are doing it differently. What are some of your like favorite, YouTubers in regards to like the music side, musician, artists and stuff like that?
Well, it's funny because there are so many different just kind of schools of thought. Like one of my best friends, Davidas, he's a huge YouTuber. Is almost like all AdSense. He's like not even messing with brand deals. It's like he does what he does, and it's just kind of like man on the street musical performances.
Cool.
And it's so genuine, right? There's no ad reads or anything. It's all genuine. He's able to kill it that way. Another one of my favorites is Samurai Guitarist. He's a good friend of mine. He does such high quality like output for that, and that I think those are three great different strategies for financing like a YouTube channel, because Samurai does like really high effort, high quality, solid brand relationships. Davidas just wing it, virtuoso talent, just raw, authentic. No brand deals, all AdSense, getting eyeballs. And then me just like straight like grinder. Yeah. Like just like making what I can. Most of what I do is one take, so it's very genuine.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? Just turn the camera on.
Like take a moment and you got 450,000 subs. Most of what you do is just one take, which minimizes the process in the editing, which minimizes the render that takes place, which minimizes the speed that you can, quickens the speed that you can get the video actually out there.
Yeah.
How do you, I just want to speak to that because I know that's a pain point for a lot of creators is like, well, then like, I just don't know how to edit. I don't know like what, so How do you get over that, like, perfectionism, I guess you could say?
Oh man, that's been a problem that has plagued musicians and artists specifically since the beginning of time. Like, when is something done? When is something perfect? And I think that's just what you have to go into social media knowing. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect, man.
Yeah.
It's like authentic is better than perfect. If
that.
it's too polished, it won't work. If it looks like it's supposed to be like on a streaming service or like on a theater thing, it's not going to work. Like, that's not what people are there for. So I think it's really kind of like understanding like the trends, and that's what really gravitated me towards YouTube, because it's like, oh, this is. People make a mistake, and it's like, that's fine. You know, I might stutter or say something wrong, and it's like, that's fine. Nobody cares.
Right.
If they flame you in the comments, that's engagement. That's free engagement.
Turn up.
Right? Like, great, awesome. You know what I mean? So just like one take, get it done. Editing, it takes me just as long to edit the video as it did to shoot the video, essentially.
Right.
And that's kind of like that guerrilla combat system that allows you to upload and keep it going.
I love that. So I know I didn't write this down, but like, could you share a little bit about the gear that you use that allows you to move fast?
Yeah, of course. So before I go into my gear, I think really like if you're thinking about doing it, any modern smartphone with good lighting, that's literally all you need.
Yeah.
Even like the microphones on the new iPhones, because I've used them in a pinch, you know, in like studio like setups, and it's like, this is fine.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, you don't need a bunch of gear. Any modern smartphone can get the job done. But I shoot mostly on Sony A7C. The G Master Glass is like so good. It's like just so good, right? It makes anything look good.
Right.
And then Sony ZV-1 is my secondary shot. I usually have two camera shots that I go back and forth.
Saw that.
And then the Sennheiser shotgun mics that actually just mount on the camera body and go into it are just like so good, and they're easy. You know, you don't have to even like set gain level; they automatically do it.
That's good.
Those are nice. Just the cheap lights, just the cheap LED lights.
And then as far as like your audio, are you going into your computer?
No, it's just audio is just going right onto the card.
Dude, let's go.
Yeah, right. Like it's awesome. It's ever since I really got those Sony shotgun mics that are they're just battery powered, and they just go right into the camera body and SD card. It's like awesome. It does give me anxiety because what if the battery runs out? That's the one downside of doing it that way, is like if you have it going. I used to do it going into like a shotgun mic into Logic into my computer, and I could see it in real time recording on the offside of the camera, and that was always nice just to be able to see it. But the beauty of doing a 2-camera shot setup is you always have a backup mic kind of going anyways.
Smart.
So that actually saved me a good amount of time, because even if it's just like, oh, I gotta bounce this 18-minute audio track and then just sync it in Final Cut. That adds time. You know what I mean? So it's so much better.
Dude, I love that. Like, here we go. Roasting it. You're going to get roasted in the comments for that.
Yeah,
Bring
awesome.
it on.
Love it. Fantastic. Can't wait. The salty comments are the best. That's another thing I'd like to, something that I noticed meeting a bunch of creators and stuff is that they really take those salty comments personally.
Yeah.
And that has never been anything that I've ever done. It's like, these are just trolls.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. Like,
no, it's crazy how we, obviously it's just, I think it's a natural thing. We lean toward negativity on a natural standpoint.
Yeah.
But like, those aren't even the person you're really trying to serve.
Yeah.
So
right.
like it's crazy how much energy, emotions go into those comments.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you have the freedom to actually not watch this video. Or like, I obviously didn't make this video for you because it's not, connecting, and you can go on YouTube and find something else. It is crazy though, but like having to fight that is definitely a skill that you acquire over time.
It's that thick skin.
Yeah.
It's always funny to me.
Yeah. So I mean, as we wrap, I want to know some of your like predictions on YouTube. So here we are, at the time of filming this, it's the beginning of 2023, and we have shorts being a huge thing. I want to know how kind of you're using those, but just more or less like you've now seen on YouTube for 5 years. What do you see maybe in the next 5 or even just this year?
Well, I do think that the shorts thing is still real. It's pivoted a little bit away from it. My theory, and I think a lot of people share this, is always that like YouTube is really building out the shorts infrastructure as a separate algorithm with the intention of either acquiring TikTok or hoping TikTok gets shut down, right? And I think it's kind of obvious that was like their plan. So they had a push where everybody was seeing kind of like inflated pushing of the shorts feed, and then it kind of dialed back a little bit, but it's still very relevant. So I think that prediction-wise, is like shorts is here to stay for sure. But I think that long form content is still going to be the bread and butter going forward. So he's got that's always going to be the bread and butter, for the foreseeable future. Long form content, as get it over 8 minutes, whatever you can do, but keep it engaging. And then just think of shorts as almost like just a secondary thing in the same stratosphere. So that's just going to keep rolling.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think the power of just posting longer videos is that YouTube is the place where people spend time with creators.
Yes,
you know,
100%.
And so there is a psychological effect that I think a lot of people don't really talk about, and that is people spending hours and hours with you over a long period of time. They really get to know you, which is hard to do that with vertical video on other platforms.
And as great as TikTok and Insta Reels are, like that's such a disposable relationship between you and a creator.
Right.
Like the long form ones are the personalities that I'm interested in.
Right.
There's where my parasocial relationships are coming from the long form time when I can, instead of just like scrolling up to the next one.
Yeah.
So,
no, dude, love that.
and especially for making a career, because, you know, there's always the side hustle like courses, Patreon, all that stuff. That's always going to be driven by long form content, I think.
So good. I love that. All right, man. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.